Boeuf Bourguignon is a thick, rich French beef stew made with lots of red wine, aromatics like carrots, onions, and garlic, and garnished with small pearl onions and mushrooms. For this version, I have made a few changes to the more traditional recipe, which I provide on my website. In this recipe, the stew is cooked in large Dutch oven, but in this video, I will show you how to cook it long and slow in a multi-cooker, crock pot, or instant pot. Other variations I have made include seasoning the beef with my rosemary steak rub. I used dried porcini mushrooms instead of button mushrooms, and I eliminated the cognac and chose a Tuscan Sangiovese wine instead of the French Burgundy wine, which is traditionally made with Pinot Noir grapes. Start by cutting the bacon into small strips and crisping it in a sauté pan. Cut the beef chuck into 1.5 inch pieces and place it in a bowl and season with the rosemary steak rub. Add flour and toss it well to coat. Using the same pan from the bacon, cook the beef in the bacon fat in small batches. Brown the beef evenly on all sides. When the beef is well browned, remove it to the slow cooker pot. In this recipe, I'm using dried porcini mushrooms instead of the traditional button mushrooms, and they need to be reconstituted. So soak the mushrooms in hot tap water for about 15 minutes to reconstitute them. Next, prepare the pearl onions by cutting off the root ends. Bring a few quarts of water to a boil and blanch the onions for about 3 minutes. Remove the cooked pearl onions from the water and cool slightly. I'm doing it here in a cold water bath. Pinch the top end of the onion, and the outside skin should pinch right off. You may need to peel back the skin a little bit to allow the onion to pop out of the skin. The carrots I used in this recipe and video came from my garden, and I got all kinds of weird shapes this year. Peel the carrots and cut them into 1-inch bite-sized pieces. I harvested some golden carrots from my garden and threw those into the stew as well. Cook the small onions in the same pan from the beef. You may need to add a little more neutral oil like canola to get a nice caramelization on the onions. Once the onions are nicely browned, remove them to the pot with the browned beef. Next, cook the cut carrots in the same pan. Again, you may need to add a little more oil to brown them evenly. When the carrots have browned, add them to the pot with the browned onions and beef. In addition to the carrots and onions that came from my garden, this large head of garlic also came from my garden. You'll notice it has 4 large cloves of garlic, and I'll use all 4 of them in this recipe. Once the garlic cloves are peeled, thinly slice the garlic. Add a little more canola oil to the pan and cook the garlic, browning it slightly for about 30 seconds. Add the tomato paste and cook that for another 30 seconds, browning the tomato paste lightly. Add the garlic and tomato paste to the pot with the beef and deglaze the pan with red wine. Reduce the red wine by half, stirring to scrape up any of the brown bits from the bottom of the pan. Pour the reduced red wine into the pot with the beef and add the fresh thyme leaves. Carefully lift the reconstituted porcini mushrooms from the soaking liquid, leaving any grit and sand to settle on the bottom. Add the mushrooms to the slow cooker pot with the beef. Decant the mushroom soaking liquid by pouring the liquid into the pot with the beef. leaving any sand and grit behind in the bottom of the plastic container. Add the beef broth to the pot. Stir the mixture well to distribute all the ingredients. At this point, I'll pre-season the stew with a little black pepper and kosher salt. Put the bowl back into the slow cooker and set the pot to slow cook on low temperature setting for 7 hours. Cut the celery into 1-inch pieces and either quarter or half the new potatoes depending on their size. Add those both to the pot after 5 hours of cooking, which allows the potatoes to cook for 2 hours. The beef bourguignon is now ready to be seasoned and served. Another option is to leave the potatoes out of the stew and serve the beef bourguignon over garlic smashed potatoes like we did here in the Loire Valley.
Hopefully you enjoyed this video and are inspired to recreate it at home. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below, and I would appreciate a thumbs up if you liked it. Comment below if you have any suggestions or requests for future videos. Check out my website at chefmichaelsalmon.com for recipes, my online store with links to my favorite tools and ingredients, and information on my 2 cookbooks.